Hi, I don't know who's here on their iPhone. This is Laura Meyer speaking. We'll not start the meeting for at least 2 more minutes, but we may not officially start the meeting call to order for until 7:05. I'm not sure. Hello, Marina. And you're muted.
I said, hello, Laura. How are you?
Fine, thank you. And you?
I'm good, thank you.
And as I just mentioned, we unlikely will actually start sharp at 7. So we could, why not? Oh, hi, LB. Steve, I think you created a graphic for the 2037.
Yeah, I have two, if you don't mind my sharing it when we get to that agenda item.
Yeah, well, I don't mind because I was looking at the HPOC board presentation and it did not have that graphic and it seemed good.
Yeah, the presentation leaves a lot to be desired.
That's all right. I'm just saying, it may leave a lot to be desired, but I was just asking if you have the graphic, so yes.
I do.
Okay, thank you. Hi, David.
Good evening.
Oh my, Vincent Price has arrived.
Well, I've been called worse, but okay.
Well, it's either Vincent Price or Alfred Hitchcock. It's up to you.
I was going for Hitchcock, but okay.
So I think we'll wait another minute or two because I know at least 2 people that I believe are coming are not yet here. I see people are arriving, but I'm waiting for 1 or 2 specific people.
Amazing that there's somebody on this call that lives like 5 houses from me, and this is probably more the most I've seen them.
Really? Well, there you go.
Hi, LB.
Not to name names.
That's all right. Even closer.
Hey, David.
Even closer than that, I was at getting my flu shot today, and somebody that lives like around like 4 houses from me was getting out of their car coming into the CVS.
Okay, well,
we shall be grateful we live in a state where you could get a shot at CVS.
Yeah.
okay. Can I remind everybody we are being recorded. We are being recorded on Zoom. I'm just reminding, and on YouTube.
I'm just saying, you know.
I know, and not only are we being recorded, but the YouTube is a public live stream that we wouldn't know if anyone's watching or not.
Come and get me.
Haven't said anything yet that I'm worried about.
All right, I'm just saying.
You guys, hi, it's Elizabeth. You know me.
Yeah, we're going to do introductions.
Oh, sure. I just wanted to mention that when we're not starting, that I started reading this book. Laura's gonna squawk. On tyranny.
Okay, we're not. Yes, we can do politics.
The first
at these
one
meetings.
is do not obey in advance. Just saying. It was a great.
Right.
I recommend.
I am gonna squawk at her.
I use that during every one of these meetings.
Ah, okay.
But you don't say
The
it.
tyranny of the committee.
No, I act it.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh, I don't think I am particularly tyrannous.
Let's talk about
Tyrannical.
Tyrannical. But sometimes. But as I already did say to Steve earlier today, I am on a new medication, only temporarily, that does have as a side effect irritability.
And as I said, I didn't notice the difference.
Well, because you haven't been with me all day long. I'm much more irritable at the moment. Just saying. All right.
You never know who's listening, Laura. It is on YouTube.
I'm just saying. I know that. I don't mind being. I'm not picking my words carefully, but I don't mind people knowing A, that I take a medicine, or B, that it makes me irritable. But
I'm still waiting to see the difference.
Thank you.
You're
Fine.
welcome.
To say that. All right. Okay, it's 7:03. We have a lot of people here. So I think it is time to call the meeting to order, even though I have at least one missing person. So my name is Laura Myers. I am coughing, which is another side effect. I am the chair of the UNNC Planning and Zoning Committee, which I am convening at 7:03. And I'm going to pull up the agenda on the shared screen on this Zoom meeting. And again, and we're gonna go through, kind of go through this. So the first item is the normal welcome, call to order, and then we review our standing rules for committee stakeholder voting participation. So essentially, UNNC has a number of standing committees. We appoint our chairs and co-chairs, but we do not appoint committee members. So what happens is in our committee meetings, which is a little different than other neighborhood councils, I'm gonna cough again, sorry. See, you guys are gonna experience irritability if this goes on too much longer. Anyway, in our meetings, anyone who is a stakeholder is considered a committee member for the duration of that committee meeting. So stakeholder may participate fully, make motions, and vote. Our voting becomes a recommendation to the general, board, the governing board of UNNC, and its actions are only voted on by people who've been elected or appointed to the board. So what is a stakeholder? It is defined by city council as someone who lives, works, owns property, workshops in a church within our boundaries, attends school or has a kid who attends school within our boundaries, and or is engaged with a nonprofit 501c3 organization of any sort, any mission, but which has a brick and mortar presence within the boundaries of UNNC. So we usually go through, and we'll do that in a moment, and everybody introduces themselves, and then we go through whether or not they are stakeholders. So let's quickly go through the agenda itself. So, okay. The next item will be general public comments. That's on any item which is not on this tonight's agenda. And since this is planning and zoning, our final, item 6 is follow up to previous cases. ENS, so that shouldn't be a general public comment either. That just wait or say in public comments that I want to talk about whatever under item 6. Not going to go well. We will have an update on SB 79. We will get some water. She good. Yeah. Number 4 is 2306 West Jefferson. It's not yet been officially submitted, so there's no case number, but it has already gone for a consultation to the HPZ. And lovely. And then lastly, but not least, an update that the city's Office of Forest Management used to be under the Board of Public Works, but was transferred to the Planning Department as of July 1. So we'll talk about that. And how will that affect us if it does? So I'm going to stop the share. What is a stakeholder again? Someone who lives, works, owns property, is employed in, and or participates in an organization within UNNC. So we'll start that out. I'm Laura Myers. I want to introduce myself. I live in Angeles Vista, so I am eligible as a stakeholder, and I intend to vote.
Hi, I'm Colleen. I live in Jefferson Park, so I'm a stakeholder and I will vote.
Hi, I'm Elizabeth Benner. I live in the Avenues and I'm a stakeholder and
Maybe.
Maybe I vote.
Okay, so then I'm gonna call on people in the order I see them on the screen. So Marina, that you need to unmute.
Yes, I'm Marina. I live in Jefferson Park. I'm a stakeholder and I intend to vote.
Steve.
My name is Steve Peckman. I'm a longstanding resident of Jefferson Park, a stakeholder, and I will vote.
Okay, Siobhan. Oh, sorry. Well, Siobhan.
Siobhan O'Neill Schwenk, representative for Region 4, and I intend to vote.
Right, so Region 4, for those who don't know, is Western Heights. David Saffer.
David Saffer, I'm a resident of Jefferson Park, and I intend to vote on some of the issues. I can't vote on projects that might come before the board. I sit on the HPOZ board of Jefferson Park, so I can't discuss.
Understood. Thank you. Andy, and of course you'll need to unmute.
I can do both. Hello, I'm Andy Knauer, resident of Jefferson Park. Can you clarify what is meant by voting?
Well, we have items on the agenda that someone might make a motion about, and if they do, I mean, you don't have to vote, but really we're saying, are you eligible to vote? It sounds like.
Oh, okay, so I guess I am eligible and I may vote if I'm still around for the agenda.
Right, and in the mood. LB.
Hi, I'm LB Nye. I live in Jefferson Park and I'm a stakeholder. I'm eligible to vote.
Okay, Brett.
Hello, Brett Landenberger, and I live in Jefferson Park, and I may vote. I'll have to see what comes up.
Okay, yeah.
But I am,
Noting we may not even have any votes, just saying. We don't know.
okay.
Michael.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, Michael Kimbrough. I'm a UNNC board member. I am the lone representative for District 3, which is the Avenues, and will participate.
Thank you. And Teresa.
Hey everybody, Teresa Masonette. I live in the Avenues and I will vote. I'm a stakeholder and will vote.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so the second item on the agenda is general public comments on items not on tonight's agenda. If anyone has any general public comments, Steve.
I would like to ask one more time that UNNC post its letter to Isaac Bryan about SB 79.
That's not up yet?
No.
Thank you.
It'd be very helpful if it were. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, so I will just make a remark under, as I had suggested earlier, under general public remarks, we will have an update that will actually be talked about on item 6, follow up to previous cases regarding 2037 West Jefferson Boulevard. Okay. Any other general public comments? So if hearing none, we're going to move on to item 3, update regarding SB 79. So a couple of things have happened. One is that the state assembly and the state senate did vote separately to pass the legislation. There was a flurry of amendments last week that right before the final vote. So in the amendments, quite a number of communities are now excluded from the legislation completely. Any community under 35,000. So a lot of the Northern California communities. And so the legislation has moved on to the governor's desk. Another change that happened, and I can't remember if it happened before or after we wrote a letter to Isaac Bryan from UNSC. Another change that happened is an amendment that essentially says that historic districts are still excluded, except that they're not if more than 10% of the properties in the half-mile radius are historic. So it's not, there's no real clarity about what happens. I mean, do they selectively choose 10% to be excluded and the rest not? I mean, it's not clear. In terms of measuring the radius, it does not appear to affect UNNC. It looks like Jefferson Park is outside the radius for the two. You're shaking your head, Steve. So what street, where does it affect UNNC, Jefferson Park HPOZ?
So the radius.
I'm talking about the HPOZ piece of it. Thank you.
Yes. The radius begins at the exit for the western stop.
Okay.
And much of the south sector of the HPOZ up to, I think it is 3rd Avenue, could be impacted. So from Expo to Jefferson.
Right, but does it comprise, this is where it gets so stupidly complicated.
The revisions to the bill were written so poorly because we're in a rush that it's unclear. And I think the only resolution will be lawsuits, because I don't think that the bill right now, as you noted, is clear enough to actually say definitively to be able to answer your question.
Right, because because it's that 10% thing that's weird.
Yeah.
So that, in other words, if one drew a circle, right?
Which I've done.
You count all the properties, not just the,
yep,
the HPOZ properties, and do the HPOZ properties comprise more than 10% of all the properties? What I was going to say is maybe it will have an impact. I thought it did not, because maybe my measuring tool isn't so as sophisticated as yours. However, University Park HPOZ and any HPOZ that's along Wilshire, probably the Highland Park HPOZ, because you've got the gold line going right through Highland Park. I mean, you know, the Garvan, I mean, there are impacts that are serious on HPOZs that are right butt up to
also Windsor Square, I think it is.
Yeah.
And
anything along the Wilshire corridor.
Yeah, the Wilshire corridor, which is substantial.
Yeah, right. Well, it's not just, it's Windsor Square, Windsor Village, Carthay Circle. I'm not sure about the impact on Oxford Square or not, but anyway, it's quite a few.
Yes.
And then again, Highland Park and Garvanza, University Park for sure, because that circle goes from 23rd and Figueroa or 23rd and Flower. If you drew the radius, it kind of goes deep into University Park. So that exceed 10% for sure. Yes, Colleen.
So
it's just a weird amendment.
Well, why would Windsor Square be in? Because it's, I think, a little bit further than half a mile from Wilshire Western.
Crenshaw line.
Crenshaw.
Right, but there's
no
stop.
stop at Crenshaw.
There's no stop at Crenshaw.
No, there's not. The closest that might act on any of the routes would be Wilshire Fairfax. Wilshire La Brea would be the closest that could possibly.
Yeah, so maybe that one will kind of escape. Anyway,
and that's on purpose due to the advocacy of the folks in that neighborhood.
Yes, but keep in mind, it's not just heavy or light rail. There's a third component, and that would be, I don't even know what you call it, but those specified rapid bus. So for example,
BRT, bus rapid transit.
Yeah, and so an intersection of Vermont, up and down Vermont, but I just don't think there's necessarily, oh, there is actually. There's Adams Normandy would be, and the west side of University Park. So it does not, I'm saying that the impacts right here may not yet be visible on the one amendment. So I was just gonna say, there's a lot of other amendments to it. I didn't need to spend a lot of time on the one amendment because there's other. Yes, sir.
Yeah, quick question. Did I understand you to say that if the HPOC exceeds 10%, then they're exempt?
No, it's the opposite.
Oh.
I thought it was no more than 10% of the structures in the HPOZ could be exempted.
It's no more than 10% of the structures in the radius. Well, again, it's hard to know really what it says because it was done
suggest
on
that
the
we
fly.
not
Yeah, we should
not beat the dead horse on this one?
Yeah. Yeah, it's just an odd amendment. Let's just say it that way. Because how do you pick? So that's one piece of news on it. The legislation is sitting on the governor's desk, theoretically, or virtual desk. He hasn't either, as far as I know, he's neither signed it or not signed it right now. This afternoon, Mayor Bass wrote a letter to the governor asking him to veto the legislation and at least for Los Angeles, utilize our already adopted housing element plans, which already provide the amount of the similar rules and regulations and the right amount of housing. Another update is that City Council has now a motion pending before it. And Steve, I do see your hand is raised. So while I look for the motion to share, go ahead and ask your question, because I'm going to share a City Council motion.
I just wanted to be sure everyone understood that being on the governor's desk, whether virtual or real, involves three possible decisions. One is he could sign it into law. Two is he could veto it. And three is he could do nothing and it goes into law by itself. Now, there is a fourth issue here that just came up, I think, yesterday or the day before yesterday, which is the president of our country started making comments that the governor was allowing low-income housing to be fast-tracked in Pacific Palisades, and president sees that as a very bad thing. And the governor has shot back that he has nothing to do with it, that this is all up to local communities and how they deal with planning and zoning. So that may be a pressure point on the governor to actually veto the bill.
Okay, well, we don't have crystal balls, however.
No, but what I'm saying is that there are three possibilities that the governor has. One is to approve it, one is to disapprove it, and one is to do nothing and let it become law on its own. And if people are still interested in applying pressure to the governor to take an action, what's happening in Washington can be a way to do that.
Okay, so in the meantime, the City Council has a motion before it from yesterday, the 16th, can you all see this on the screen? Because I was having trouble getting to share. That basically is addressing the passage by the legislature and not related to the governor yet of SB 79. So it basically says the impacts of the legislation, which was amended over a dozen times, needs to be thoroughly understood by city staff and by community stakeholders in the event the governor signs it. And so this motion has asked various departments to quickly prepare reports. It says a report, but with more than one department, it's going to be more than one report that has detailed maps, the applicability to the cities neighboring the city of LA, what's the definition exactly of a transit-oriented development stop, how is it going to impact, RSO units, high fire hazard areas, I can't pronounce that. Tsunami zones. Yes, tsunami zones, sorry. Sites near evacuation routes, and then sites that have a designated historic resource. And then details on if any, I suppose, of the city's ability to delay the effectuation, if that is actually a word, of SB 79. And other recommendations, including, get down to the very bottom, that the council requests the city attorney to issue a confidential report to the council on potential legal challenges to SB 79 and possible bases for cost recovery from the state if none of those other things work. So this motion is in the agenda packet. I'm not going to leave it up on the screen unless somebody tells me otherwise, because I can't see anybody when I've got screen sharing going. Down. And Steve, is your hand still up or up again?
Up again. So
okay.
My reading of the motion is that it's essentially three parts. One is asking the applicable city agencies to address implementation. The second is to address impact. And the third is for the city attorney to opine on how to fight back. We'll see.
I think there's four, because I think there was is there a way to wiggle out?
Well, I think that's the fighting back part.
Okay.
But it's clearly the majority of it is asking planning, building, and I think it's transportation to really sit down and quickly in the next 90 days come up with reports on how to implement this legislation and what the impact will be.
Yeah. And noting one of the either original parts of this or an amendment gave cities 60 days to respond. So I don't know why this motion is given 90 days, but be that as it may. I mean, in other words, if the city was going to do something, there's something in the legislation that gives cities 60 days to prepare something, but obviously we're not going to meet that deadline. So, and I don't know that it would have ever been a realistic one. Okay. Are there any other updates that anyone knows? I mean, again, we don't have a crystal ball. No, there's no knowledge until the time elapses. And Steve, do you know what amount of time the governor has?
I don't remember.
Yeah, I mean, it's like a week or more.
Oh, it's more than a week.
Yeah. So we just don't know what's going to happen. And we don't know if there's going to be a lawsuit. And we don't know if the city will find other ways to wiggle. And we don't know when it would be implemented. So we're not going to guess. But so this is what I know. Somebody knows something else. If they don't, we can move on.
The governor has 12 calendar days to act on a bill when it's presented to him. He has a 30-day period to sign or veto bills after the legislature adjourns for the year. So I don't think they've adjourned for the year.
I think the rush was that they do adjourn on the 12th of September. Am I crazy?
Then if that's the case, then he has much longer than 12 days.
Okay, Caesar.
Sorry, I feel like the bill is trying to address the housing crisis that we're in, and from what I'm hearing in this committee, it seems like there's just pushback. Is it just because we want to protect the HPOZs, or is it because we don't want to build more? I'm kind of confused on why we're pushing back
Caesar, we're
so
pushing.
hard.
Yeah, we're pushing back because the zoning that was already established for our community, which we worked on, already provides the amount of housing that we were asked to provide and more. I mean, so we already have TODs, and I mean, we just have it. So this kind of, we have it, but we don't have it the way it's described. So we have plenty of housing capacity, not just in the radiuses because they're TODs, but in along the corridors. And this legislation doesn't take into account that the city has already, this city, not all cities, this city has already done a housing element with actual planning and identification of lots, which was required by the state this time around, that more than accommodates the amount of housing that this legislation is maybe attempting to do. And at the same time, this legislation is not providing anything affordable. I mean, we've had the conversation so many times of late about how the housing that's being approved, it all has not yet been built, but the housing that's being approved the last couple of years with all the different kinds of legislation, including 81 locally, is disconnected from the needs of our community because the affordability levels are based on county-wide income and not more focused in communities. So in our area, but let's say broadly, Southeast LA, South LA, West Island, Spalding Hills, Leimert, the vast majority of units being proposed are for quote low income, which isn't really what anyone thinks of as low income because it's $85,000 a year. And on the ELI alone, so just the ELI because somebody already happened to do that study, only 3% of the units that were approved by February of this year, January, February of this year, so it's not a current statistic, but only 3% of the units approved in all of South LA were for extremely low income or very low income. So that's part of it, because SB 79 does not solve that problem. And, you know, I mean, it's just part of it. I do think it is true that this committee has a very strong point of view also about protecting our historic resources, but also about protecting the naturally occurring affordable housing that occurs within those historic resources. So, you know, it's complicated, and the bill is a little simplistic, actually.
Okay, thank you.
God, I'm getting on a soapbox, but at least I'm not still coughing. That's the very most.
So I want to second what Laura said, but I also want to add something here, which is this committee and our neighborhood council has gone on record innumerable times supporting affordable housing initiatives, which is one of the reasons why so much of it has been built in our area.
Right.
I'm really offended by the idea that somehow we're in opposition to affordable housing when what we're talking about is a bill that has no real application to affordable housing.
Right, but he didn't, Steve, he didn't say that.
Let me continue without interruption. You got to speak without interruption. It would be very nice if you'd let others speak without interruption.
Okay, somebody else is irritable.
I'm not done. So beyond that, the Neighborhood Council, UNNC, has authored a detailed letter explaining its objections to this bill that was sent to Assembly Member Brian. I've asked for it to be posted on the UNNC website a number of times. It's still not posted. I have shared it throughout my email list. I know other organizations have shared it as well. There are a multitude of reasons why this bill is bad legislation that doesn't accomplish the goal of affordable housing and provides additional burdens on local communities such as Los Angeles, not to beat a dead horse, but it includes more than 1.6 billion, with a B as in boy, $1 billion of unfunded mandate for infrastructure improvements if it gets implemented in the city. Now, this is on top of the millions of dollars that Laura has already alluded to that the city has spent creating and adopting a plan exactly to address affordable housing that was mandated by the state already. So not only is it going to cost us more money, it's not going to create affordable housing, and it doesn't do anything other than create larger density, deeper density at market rate.
So what I was trying to say, Steve, is Caesar wasn't addressing affordable housing. He was addressing housing and the need, broadly speaking, to have housing. So when I was responding, I was saying that UNNC has its own more narrow perspective, but it's not really fair to say that he was saying affordable and it doesn't do affordable, because that's not really what Caesar was addressing. That's all I was trying to say. You know, I mean, there's different views on this, and one of the views is that anyone who builds more housing will help house people. That, you know, regardless of the level of rental level. Andy.
I think you just made my point for me on that last comment there. We have a housing gap at all pieces of the housing spectrum, whether this is market rate or affordable only. Any type of housing will help. And so it's you know, I understand the argument for local control and the housing element, and you know, the thought that we have done our part for our community, but this SB 79 has the opportunity to have a huge impact across the state. For many other people who aren't in our community, I see Steve shaking his head. But that's my view on it. Unfortunately, this most of this group doesn't think that or wants to preserve other elements of it, but just wanted to voice that.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, as the bill kept getting amended, now it's not going to be helpful to X number of people across the state because X number of municipalities have been exempted. And that was a political move to get votes from some Northern California legislators. So it's now not fairly applied everywhere, for example. But we're gonna see what happens. And we don't here in this room have any control over what happens. I will say this, if it's fully implemented, if the city never sues or sues and loses, I mean, whatever, I would vote to say to the city of LA, when the next round of mandatory housing element comes around, which is a hugely costly thing to do, is to say we're not doing it. Because why would we spend that money again? It's every 8 years. So we're about to enter another cycle of having to redo our housing element, even though it feels like we just did one, but it's kind of a revolving door on that. And if the state legislature is going to start doing all of these laws that just overcome the housing element, why spend the money to create a housing element? But maybe that's a dumb idea, but maybe that's a thing to lobby on. Caesar.
Sorry, I just want to say one last thing. Like, I appreciate all your work, and I truly, you guys were on top of your shoulder. You guys have done so much work for this community. So, I just want to say, like,
but remember, we're not just you guys anymore. You're one of the guys now.
Yeah, oh yeah, true. I just feel like this committee should focus on making more neighbors and making it feel like more opportunities for the neighborhood, and we should be more like a liaison, like guiding developers or investors who want to invest in our neighborhood, okay, and guide them of how we want them to build the buildings, as opposed to just like saying, no, you can't build here anymore. Last year there was like a beautiful, there was an architect that came and presented their building, and it was like on Jefferson somewhere. It was going to replace an ugly auto body shop, and I feel like it got shut down because of like so many things. One of the things that really I remember clearly though, like was like pushing back on like the noise pollution that the rain might cause in the neighborhood. I'm like, wait, why are we not like developing this auto body shop that's just like overflowing with cars, and like guiding them to make it look a certain way so we can have a better neighborhood.
So Caesar, I do know which project you're talking about. They were not shut down by us. We haven't voted yet.
Okay. But it seemed like there was a lot of pushback as opposed
yeah,
to
they were in fact getting a lot of pushback, but some of it was about, I mean, we're going to hear it again tonight. Some of it is about creating, these are mixed use projects. But if you recall, some of it, the pushback was about creating a mixed use project with zero parking for the retail use.
Right.
Which mean they won't be able to have a retail use easily, because previous projects have basically vacant space for the retail. So it's sometimes the discussion may sound strident about parking, because that's another, but the reality is it's unrealistic to build commercial spaces without patron and employee parking.
Yeah.
So some of that was that, and I do remember, but why they're not shut down, but the planning department had separate issues, so they're on.
Yeah, and one last point, and then that's it. That's all I'll say. Yeah, the parking issue is always like brought up, and I feel like if we had denser neighborhoods, that parking shouldn't be a problem, because people would be able to walk to that particular place without having to drive there, or that the place will keep open. The people, if they really want to go, they'll figure it out or go, okay, take Uber or whatever to get there. So yeah, parking is always kind of like, well, maybe we need to build more houses so the businesses can survive because of denser neighborhoods and things like that.
Yeah,
thank you.
It's a hard balancing act. I see multiple other hands. I was so hoping this would be a brief meeting. Apparently not. Marina is next.
Yeah, I just want to bring up that what pains me about SB 79 is that we in our community already are naturally provides housing for very low income. And what I see this SB 79 doing is coming in and basically raising and displacing our community in order to provide housing for market rate. That's painful for me. I just needed to say that.
Okay, so Teresa.
Thank you, Laura. So just a couple of quick comments. One, the UNNC has, I used to be on the board, as many of you know, and during my tenure, we approved many projects for affordable, low income, extra low income. We have housing for former homeless women, housing for former vets, homeless vets. We have on many occasions approved projects and supported projects in our community to deal with addressing the housing shortage. I also want to say that this committee is open to anybody. As Laura stated from the beginning, if you live in the area, you are a stakeholder and you can vote. And the people who are participating, they have a right to address noise pollution if they think the rain hitting the side of a building because of the particular facade is going to cause noise for the adjoining properties. They have a right to come. If there are other people who have a different opinion, they can come. I mean, this is a democratic process. So,
yeah.
The people who are here are advocating for their community. And if Caesar, if you want the committee to be different, you can ask the board to be the chair of the Planning and Zoning Committee, and you can lead it and address and guide the committee in a direction that you think is more reflective of the community. Thank you, Laura.
Well, I was also going to say, along with all those affordable projects, we have approved and worked closely with CIM's 8-story massive project that hopefully one day will be built at 24th and Western, wrapping around their phases 1 and 2. So they have they did a adaptive reuse of the old doctor's hospital that's up and running.
Can I call a point of order, Laura? Can we
move
go
on
back to the agenda? Because we're spending a lot of time on things that have nothing to do with the item on the agenda.
Thank you.
I just had one point I wanted to make about SB 79 and the discussion around it. Just for me, we haven't used the word owners or ownership. We talk about apartment buildings. And I was very happy that a 4-plex on my block, when it was being sold, it was turned into 4 condos. Now, to try to get fewer people who are going to live out in the hinterlands, you know, in Riverside County or in the valleys, and then driving to their job in Los Angeles, we have to make a house affordable, because I believe that the desire for ownership is strong. And we just haven't, I just want to insert that into some of our discussions, how to increase ownership here in LA and neighborhoods.
Okay, and so
and that doesn't need an answer. It's just
no. I was going to say, and some state, I haven't read SB 79 to know if it does or does not have an ownership component. I will tell you, because I was just trying to read, it's too dense, SB 2334, which is on tonight's next agenda, and as well the Bronson Avenue project. That absolutely has a big component about ownership in it. Okay. Affordability and ownership. Okay. So I don't know if SB 79 does or does not.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Moving on. The next item on the agenda is 2306 West Jefferson. This has not yet been it's not been submitted to the city, so I think it's way premature here, I'm trying to figure out right now which thing I'm gonna share. I don't think we should be taking a vote, that's my opinion. Because it's not even got a case number yet. But this will be up to you. So this is a project that is in the consultation stage, as far as I know, at 2306 West Jefferson. I don't have a case number. It's 35 unit, 100% affordable mixed use apartment building. I should ask, can you see the screen?
Yes. What's the intersection?
Between 3rd and 4th Avenues on the south side.
It's one lot in from the corner of 3rd.
Yeah, on the south side of the street.
Across from the park.
Across from the park.
Oh, that's the church parking lot?
No,
no.
It's a vacant lot right now.
Here it is. That's
Next to where well, you can see the sign right there. Preach to Teach used to be right there.
So, and I'm just showing you the presentation that was theoretically shown to the HPOZ board. David, was that meeting actually held, or was this a canceled meeting?
No, that one was actually held.
Okay, so this is the lot. This is the overview of the lot. Anyway, so it's 6 stories as proposed, 6 stories. Well, as to be proposed, because it hasn't actually been submitted. 6 stories, 100% affordable, all low income or moderate, and 1,480 square feet of ground floor commercial space. This is the look-see of the design. Another view from the alley, and the easterly elevation, westerly elevation. Oops, some floor plans. I don't know that we need to see them. And the project benefits, adding 35 units to the housing supply, 0 displacement of tenants because it's a vacant lot. So 28 low-income dwelling units. So that's that maximum income for an individual of $85,000. 7 moderate income dwelling units, and that's maximum income at 120% of median. I'm not sure. It's in excess of 100,000. I just don't know the dollar amount. Creation of entry-level housing allows more people access to affordable housing. And again, mixed use. I mean, this is a commercial corridor. So provision of ground floor commercial space activating the surrounding streetscape.
Is this primarily aimed at USC students?
Well, it's the developer is not I'll go back to the front. This particular developer, as far as I know, Calnell Gardens, LLC, like the Calnell family. I have not seen them do student housing over here. I do not know if they are student housing next to other universities. They are the longtime owners of a commercial mixed use building in Harvard Heights, Washington and Oxford. So that's the only reason I know of them, but that's certainly not student housing. So otherwise.
Are they responsible?
It does not appear from the floor plans that it's based on it's being geared that way because they are 1-bedroom and 2-bedroom units.
Yeah, and they're not showing multiple beds, is that right? No. Yeah, so it doesn't appear. Steve, I know you have your hand up. I was gonna, however, move on to actions requested before if that's okay. Is that okay?
Sure, I just wanted to show the building in context.
I understand. I'm going to come to that, but I'm having trouble with my share screen, so I want to get it. I want to be done. If you
I can already share.
I know I'm having trouble with my share screen. I wanted to share this. Can you guys see?
Yes.
Thank you. Before I lose sharing is what I wanted to do. So essentially, they're asking for base incentives and up to 5 additional incentives. And the base incentives it seems to be more than one, actually. First, that they want to use the base density of the general plan land use, not the density allowed in the C2 zone, but whatever the highest density allowed in commercial zoning, the pink color that you see on the ZMS map. They're looking to use the general plan, community plan, not the zone for their density. So essentially unlimited density. No residential parking minimum, an FAR maximum of 4.5 to 1. And that's in lieu of, I think, 1.5 to 1 that's permissible in the CPIO. And that means more building on the smaller land. And the additional height, which I think is kind of automatically granted, and the ability to pursue additional incentives, which include lesser yard setbacks on the west, east, and rear. And the rear is the residential level, so that's not on the ground. So it's a lesser setback higher up. And I think on the commercial level, there's no setback required at all anyway. But usually these kind of projects require the residential thing to be like a wedding cake, how it goes up higher, you know, so it's big and then smaller. No parking for commercial. And I didn't understand this one either. Reducing the open space by calculating 10% of each unit, I think is what they're saying, as being open space or something to that effect. So I don't quite understand how they're doing this, because I didn't see on the plans, but maybe I didn't look carefully. I didn't see large recreation groups or anything like that.
I think they're talking about balconies.
Well,
that's a pretty big balcony, Steve, 10%.
No, it's not a big balcony, but I think that's what they're talking about.
Yeah, but balconies couldn't be 10% of, oh no, because it's fine within the perimeter walls. I'm saying I don't understand it. I'm going to ask them what it means. I don't understand it. And then they're asking not to do transitional height step back. So that's, nobody's doing the transitional height step back. They're always asking for that. So what they also require, they need to comply. They have to have administrative review for compliance with the CPIO. They need to have compliance with they have to get a certificate of compatibility from the HPOZ, which is to say compliance with the plan, preservation plan. And they also have to have a redevelopment plan compliance review. So they have to have a written compliance in advance of, actually in advance of the application being deemed complete. And that's one of the results of the recent lawsuit involving 806 West Adams. The California Supreme Court actually said that the city has to stop ignoring the redevelopment plans. So I don't know how they get compliance with these plans, but they have to have it. And I think how any developer would be deemed compliant with the CPIO or the redevelopment plan is there's sort of a language sleight of hand where the planning department staff will say, if the incentive is granted, then that makes it compliant. And I don't know if we agree with that, meaning regular people reading stuff, but that is what it means. Okay, Steve, you wanted to share a context image, as it were?
Yeah, so the developer did not provide images showing the development in context. And so I think it's important to show that. So this is what the building will look like on Jefferson Boulevard.
At the moment.
Well, as proposed.
As proposed, yeah.
That's the only thing I can talk about is what they proposed.
Correct.
And this is what it will look like looking at Jefferson, looking south. So you can see here how it will dominate the block of 1.5 story and 2-story buildings. So far, at least the exterior design has nothing to do with the historic nature of Jefferson Boulevard either. Now, what they also didn't do is show you what the impact will be on the neighbors that are south of the building. Now, remember that this building will essentially go from lot line to lot line, north to south, from Jefferson down. And those 6 stories will impact all of these homes here.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. And
Quick
so
question
can
for
you
Steve.
go back? Can you go back up to the other image?
Michael has a question.
I have a quick question.
I know Michael has a question, but could you go back up to the other image, please? Thank you.
Okay. Okay. So it looks like the developers are gambling on 0 parking, 100% affordability, and it looks like Jefferson is a major transit corridor. How far are we from the nearest subway station?
Yeah, this is not a major. I mean,
Well, it's Jefferson.
No, I mean, in other words, this may not be within those radius.
They're not requesting TOD.
Yeah, they're not
They
requesting.
are filing under CHIP though.
Okay,
Oh.
everybody's jumping. I know, everybody's jumping in.
It's easy because it's Expo, but you wouldn't be. Arlington is not close to either of the Expo line stops, which would be Crenshaw or Western.
Right, it's not close.
And Arlington itself is not a great transit. But
Yeah.
you would go to Crenshaw and get the Crenshaw line.
Yeah, they're not basing their requests on transit. This is not a transit
No,
density.
understood, but they've got to it's got to pencil out with 0 parking, and so they're counting on something.
Yeah.
Well, they certainly are, but my point is they're specifically using the AB 2334 legislation is actually for density bonuses in areas without high transit. I mean, it can be used in areas with high transit, but it's a density bonus without high transit. So this is not a transit project. So why I wanted to focus back on the image, my understanding of the preservation plan, and I do have some degree of understanding, as I think Colleen does too, is that for commercial infill, it should be on Jefferson, not necessarily on Western, but on Jefferson, somewhat evocative of or somewhat emulating streetcar commercial. So in other words, more horizontality. I don't mean shorter building necessarily, but what I'm seeing is really vertical windows, really reach to the sky kind of design. And I'm not talking about actual measurement of height, but I think they're going to need to do, and maybe the HPSC already told them, I didn't go to the meeting, a rethink at some level to make the design a little more in keeping with streetcar commercial and its horizontality. It would be very difficult to make a real streetcar commercial-ish building in a single lot as this one is on. If it was 5 lots, they'd have more chance. So anyway, that's what we're looking at. My concern are the number of incentives being requested. And again, the affordability is, not there. So the city does have the option under the laws that this project is applying under, to say no or not to grant all the incentives. But I don't think we've seen any pattern with our city planners of doing that. I'm just saying they have the option. David?
Just a couple things. I want to say how, okay, I'll only mention things that were mentioned in the meeting.
I think.
What's that?
You have to be careful about what you say, right?
I know, I'll only mention things that were mentioned at the meeting.
Okay.
The discussion that did come up at the from kind of that was our overarching theme was that it appeared the developers designed this without reading the plan. And they do need to go back and read the plan, and we pointed them at the appropriate chapters. We asked them to compare it to the other buildings on Jefferson. This, I mentioned earlier, this is being filed under CHIP. So the HPOZ cannot ask for any changes that affect number of units or height. So we can't even talk about those things in HPOZ. They have also asked for some, and I don't see it mentioned in any of the other things, but they mentioned they're also asking for additional density as Jefferson being a high occupancy street, which I thought was interesting.
It's Jefferson's not a high occupancy
I know,
street.
and they're in the middle.
No, I mean, it's actually not designated as that.
I know, and even with density they have now, they're in the middle of narrowing the street from Vermont to Western, so it's going to be even less. But
right,
beside the point. Anyway, this came to us. We discussed it. We asked them to come back for another consultation when they have redesigned the project, because we felt as it was submitted at this point, they made no effort to match our plan.
Right. There's also and again, I'm having a lot of trouble reading AB 2334. I mean, it's just back and forth and back and forth. But there's something in there that basically says, if you ask for unlimited density, then you cannot be asking for a multitude of other incentives. So there seems to be a disconnect. I know you said that came to you under CHIP, but they're saying AB 2334 and one other, and CHIP was not one of the two. I had a brief conversation with the land use consultant today, very brief, but they mentioned two others and not that. So it's all getting very confusing because there's so many different laws. But again, you know that the city itself, the city planning department, is pretty much saying yes to most things. My concern overarching remains this idea of it's affordable when it's not really. And giving away all of the incentives. There'll be no trees on this parcel. They're building out to the lot line. There will be very little open space. I mean, those kind of amenities that make it healthy for people to live is what's missing from projects like this. And I don't know.
I have a question.
Sure.
Related to
can you, since we were in the president mode, can you just say your name?
Elizabeth Fenner, stakeholder. I see the room we're in right now. I think we're all homeowners, right? And we're all well established in this area. It bothers me a little bit that it doesn't seem like we have input from renters on this particular project. Like, would renters feel like, especially—
You mean current renters in our area?
Current renters in our area, would they see, I see a questionnaire, I see a survey being of great use.
But if they're—
I like the idea of Jefferson being developed as a little, what's it called? I've just forgotten the name of the little neighborhood a little bit up north.
Pedestrian neighborhood.
A pedestrian neighborhood up north that
Larchmont?
Larchmont, thank you so much. So if that's the vision of this, does that fit into that vision? And then two, we just have a lack of renters. Also, I don't think we have any Jefferson Boulevard business owners, right, at the table. Or have they been questioned? They've been asked. I just think,
well, this is not even submitted.
Okay, I'm just saying that I feel there's huge gaps in our knowledge about what this would actually mean to our community.
Okay. Andy.
Yeah, agree with that last point. And not only to our community currently, but people that we could welcome to our community. I mean, this is 35 units of low income. I know there's an issue with how that might be defined, but 35 people that can currently not be in our community because this thing isn't built. And so I feel like we're losing the forest for the trees a little bit. Like, yes, this can be great and offer housing to 35 new people. Maybe we have disagreements on the design of it or how it fits nicely into the community, but it's new housing and new people that can be a part of this wonderful community that currently can't be.
Yeah, so again, it's highly unlikely that this project will get a no from the city. Our role, and I think, was it you earlier tonight, or was it Caesar, or both, said, why aren't we working with developers? Well, we do work with developers, and I already had the initial conversation. I'm going to try and get them here to talk to, because this is not a perfect project. Because again, where's the trees? Where's the ability to have any trees, for example? And where's the open space? I mean, not that I personally like to see deck top recreation, because that's brings its whole other issues of noise, into the community, but there's like nothing on this. But on the other hand, we don't know if they're even redesigning it based on the HPOZ input. So that's kind of where I'm going. Brett.
I live nearby, not far away, and the development that was done in the 2400 block of Jefferson between 4th and 5th on the north side of the street went in since I've lived here. And there was pushback on that project. It's a much bigger project. It takes up practically the whole block. And the developers followed through. They decreased the height. They added trees and landscaping along the front. There were some other issues. It's been a while, I don't remember, but that does have a pleasant enough, it contributes to the streetscape and doesn't detract from it, which I feel this project under discussion tonight would be greatly detract from the streetscape. And so I just wanted to mention that seems a good reference point to me for a success for more density. Also, though, there's nobody from that 100 unit development at this meeting tonight. And the idea of renters coming to and making their voice heard seems far-fetched to me. It's a great idea and I'm all for it, but there's just no incentive.
I'm sorry, Brad, which development were you talking about? Jefferson where?
Oh, yeah, the 4th Jefferson.
Yeah, you know what?
The district. Okay, district plot.
Yeah, the South LA Cafe.
Yeah,
that's right.
We did point them towards Thomas Safran and Associates quite often during the meeting.
Right. That's the poster child for good.
Yeah.
That development that Brett is referring to, the developer worked very closely with the community to bring it to where it became, which this developer is not doing.
Well, not yet. Not yet.
Look at this other developer did it from the very beginning.
No, actually, no, they did not.
The first thing they proposed was super modern and all glass.
Yeah, it was like a
brought that to the community. They brought all the variations to the community. We discussed it and we convinced them to do it differently. There were many, many community meetings. One was actually at LB's house, who's here at the meeting tonight, that I remember very distinctly. So there is a possibility to work with the community, and the community ended up supporting the development in the end, right? Because of the way they worked with us and made it into the structure that Brett is currently supporting, and I do too. I think it does integrate with the streetscape in a way that at least what this developer is proposing does not even make an attempt to integrate with.
Well, again, UNNC has not met with them. I'm hoping we will. So I'd like to leave that open to openness until proven otherwise, which we could be proven otherwise. But we've worked very closely with more recently with CIM and continue to work with Thomas Safran because they have the project now on Washington Boulevard and 4th and others, but we haven't had the opportunity to work with this developer yet. I hope it can have a positive outcome. We just can't know.
It sounds like we're moving on. That's great. I don't know if we
can. I assume we're not having a motion on this since it's not even submitted yet.
Too early.
Yeah. So there's just one more point I want to make, which is a quick search was that in LA today, there are 93,000 vacant units. More than half of these 46,000 were units that are held out of the market, often because the owners are not getting the rate they want to get. And I think that's anathema to our efforts here. And there should be a poison pill here. There should be, not a poison pill, that's wrong. But there should be some requirement that we allow you to build this in our community. We go through this process. You are going to rent those units. You're not going to hold them off of the market because you're not getting what you want in terms of rent.
Okay.
Just to clarify, typically for affordable housing, it comes with a covenant that requires them to maintain whatever they've described in their application, whether it's moderate or low income or very low income, for a period of time, typically 45 to 50 years.
55 years now.
Yeah,
so they're required to fill everything.
And they're not going to be able to rent it at market rate. And they know that.
But are they required to rent it at all, is her question.
You can't make someone rent something. All you can do is advertise that it's available as a rental. The hope is that if you are
requiring the owner to find some to fill the unit. You are requiring the owner to fill the unit.
I have something to say about that.
Okay, Michael has his hand up.
Yeah, real quick. The 93,000 units that you're referring to, is that countywide, citywide? What
That's city.
Get that number?
I have to go deeper. It said the city of Los Angeles.
Yeah, because that could be anything. I mean, you can't force an owner to rent his unit.
Sound like a landlord.
No, he's
I was.
But also, yes, it's true.
Yeah. So I'm not sure where that heads us.
If the city is supporting it, if neighborhoods are supporting it, you build it and then you don't fill it, you don't provide those, and then we have to build more and more apartment buildings there
are so many obstacles and barriers. I mean, just in today's headlines, LADWP hasn't provided power to a building downtown, and so those units are sitting vacant. I mean, it's crazy. Many barriers, but there are certainly, because my driving route, if you drive up and down a Motor or Overlook in West LA, you will see lots and lots of new big buildings and many darkened windows at night, that they're not rented. And also so many of the big new buildings by USC, actually talked to a student housing developer very recently, huge number of vacancies. They're not being
so that's a different issue that seriously needs to be
but it doesn't really relate to this project, but there are a lot of vacancies right now. Colleen.
As a community, over 10 years ago, we engaged in a very, very, very robust, and I say as a community, I mean as Jefferson Park community, we engaged in a very robust process to establish design guidelines for our preservation plan. David made the point that because this project is submitted under CHIP, the HPOZ board is not being permitted by the city to apply the design guidelines that are in the preservation plan with respect to height.
Correct.
That is not something that is in the law, as far as I understand the law to be written. It is an interpretation that is being made by the city due to the city's fear of litigation. So I feel like that's sort of the elephant in the room, and it's just something that we all need to be aware of, that we are quite significantly handcuffed in our ability as communities to apply the design guidelines that we developed as a community.
Yeah, well, if I'm not mistaken, the design guidelines call for a 3-story building.
No.
2-story?
No, the design guidelines call for them to match the scale.
Got it. So the zoning on this parcel, it's C2, but the next hyphen is 1VL. That VL stands for very low. So that maxes it out at 3 stories. So 1VL. And that may have been the only zoning height that could apply whatever the preservation plan is, because I don't think there is a height section in the code that's lower than 3 stories or 35 feet or 45 feet. The legislation that this project's applying under automatically gives 3 more stories. And CHIP, I think, also automatically goes 3 more stories to 100% affordable. So where we're at is simply that what's affordable, and this doesn't feel like it will be actually affordable. And that's Laura speaking her mind. You know, I mean, in other words, we can talk on and on and on about affordability, but we would have to change the laws.
All right.
So, anyway, shall we move on? Because Teresa's been. The next item, number 5, is an update about the city's Office of Forest Management has joined LA City Planning. So I don't know, Teresa, you want me to read the agenda item out, or do you want to just yak with us?
No, I'll just talk. I'm sure everybody's already read it. So we say joined Laura, but she was actually, that office was intentionally moved because of budget cuts. As you guys may remember, during the budget hearings, we were facing city was facing $1 billion deficit. So there was elimination of many vacant positions throughout all the city departments, and a consolidation of some of the different departments. The Office of Forest Management was part of the Board of Public Works, where we have street services and Bureau of Engineering and Bureau of Sanitation and things like that. So it was taken out of there and moved to the planning department. It's great that we have a professional who understands the city's equity issues regarding trees. It's somebody, Rachel was very involved, Rachel Malrich, the office city forest officer, is very involved in some of the larger projects with trees, the removal of trees and the placement of trees. So that's great, but many feel like that position should really be an appointment by the mayor. And if the mayor, the environment and sustainability and climate justice was a priority, then it probably would be. But the mayor, as we all know, is focused on housing and solving the homelessness situation. So it's been moved into the Office of Forest Management lost a position. There were 3. She happened to have a vacancy, so that position is gone. And she and a staff member are now part of the planning department, and they are in the department. Oh my goodness, I can't remember. It's that she doesn't report directly to Vince Bertoni. She is in another thing, Department of Policy or something like that, in the planning department. So she's in that Office of Forest Management is going to continue to work on the Urban Forest Management Plan. As many of you remember, CD10 hosted a community engagement for that. We got a lot of people came out at McCarty Church and gave some feedback, but we're all still waiting for the draft version of the Urban Forestry Management Plan. So that's that.
Teresa, she's not in the physical section where Michelle Levy is in?
I'm not sure where you mean, like the literal building.
Well, I don't necessarily mean the literal desks, but maybe I do mean that Michelle is officed, I guess, in urban design, right? Studio, urban design studio.
No.
But
she's not part of that. She's in the Department of Policy or something like that.
Yeah, so is Michelle. Yeah, Michelle's in that department too when you look at the pyramid. But yeah. But because that section, urban design studio, is the one that's been working on the planning side, landscaping, plants and trees and all.
Yes. I'm not sure. I mean, that I'm hoping still goes through. It was presented to council, so we're waiting to see, you know, how that's going to make it through.
Yeah, as we keep approving projects that have no trees. Yeah, got it. So
no. I don't know. But there you go, Laura.
All right.
Anybody have any thoughts or questions?
Okay. Okay. If not, we can do item 6, follow up to previous cases, ENS and old business. So we've had an interesting week as it relates to 2037 West Jefferson Boulevard, because this is a proposed 3-story office building on Jefferson Boulevard. So we don't have the issues of too many, in some views, too many units or affordability of units. It's not a residential proposal at all. It's a 3-story building, but it was supposed to have a public hearing first on September 2nd, which was canceled due to lack of quorum, and then yesterday another meeting canceled due to lack of quorum. And the HPOZ board has lost or will have lost at close of business tomorrow its jurisdiction on the project. So Steve had sent out an email to a number of planners and copied me. And I also wrote an email, hit reply all, and got an answer back tonight, right before our meeting. And Steve, I don't know if you saw the answer. You did. And basically the HPOZ board has lost its jurisdiction, or again, will have lost it by tomorrow close of business, because the project was submitted, technically deemed approved on August 19th. So the board had 30 days. I have asked why it is, not just why are we scheduling meetings where you don't have quorum, but that it's just done. We can have part of the conversation in a minute, but I have asked, therefore, why aren't you scheduling what we might call a director's hearing? This has happened multiple times in other HPOZ areas where they may not have a board yet, or they have a board but not enough people on the board to convene a quorum, or they've had trouble having quorum, or they have recused board members so they couldn't get 3 people who would be allowed to vote. And what they've done in other HPOZs, when they have a certificate case, is they essentially call a director's hearing, and board members are invited to participate like anyone else and testify. And they just gather information and write a report to the director, as they might have done anyway with the board recommendation. I mean, the board recommendation is just one piece of information anyway. So I don't have an answer back for that, but the other answers were that they are working, it sounds like, to get appointments to fill the other 2 vacancies on the HPOZ board, so we don't have this kind of situation again. UNNC has already voted on what a letter would say about this project. And the other piece of information I got back that was different than was said at the canceled board meeting. The deadline for submitting letters is the 10th of October. It is not tomorrow. So that's that. Steve, did you want, or Marina want to say more? We good? If you do, go ahead.
Yes, thank you. Will we be responding to Christina's email and asking?
I responded already.
Oh, you already responded. Okay.
Yes, I responded, but it was right before this meeting. So if she's working late tonight, I'm not looking at my email now to see if she responded. I'm not expecting that. But I asked her more specifically why they can't do, could they do a public hearing? That I am aware that unlike an HPOZ board, it's not 10 days notice. It would be either 21 or 24 day notice. They'd still have time and they could do it on Zoom, but that doesn't mean it doesn't mean they even have the budget to staff such a hearing. I don't know, but the time frame for writing comments is till October 10 and not just till tomorrow at 5. It's just that the board loses jurisdiction tomorrow at 5.
I will be responding as well.
Okay, and UNNC's approved bullet points, but I haven't written the letter, so phew, I don't have to do that overnight tonight. But we had, if memory serves, we had 4 points. One is just the kind of a core point. Please clean up your mess. That lot is filthy. It's now the fence is torn apart. The weeds are down, but the trash is piling up. And now that the weeds are down, or maybe the trash was piling up already. So while that's got nothing to do with a future project, it's got everything to do with take pride in your ownership. Bigger concern is the plans show that on the rear of that parcel, there's nothing. They don't show anything on the parcel. They don't show parking lot. They don't show a building. They don't show landscaping. It's just a nothing. And the real question is it actually a something? Is it an ADU that you're not telling us about? Is it, what is it? Because nobody has a nothing on the final 1/3 of a commercial lot. And that would be a phasing in. And the reason that's of concern is that the lot is vacant now, but it was not vacant previously. It was a contributing structure or structures, and they burned down. And in the environmental clearance to allow the demolition of the contributing structures, it very specifically said, you cannot do a phased development. It's a kind of forbidden in that clearance. So so Christina did say that they're gonna look into that, because I don't think the current people at OHR are remembering just from 18 months ago what it said. So I know there was a fourth point, I've already forgotten it, but we had 4 bullet points. Anyway, so UNNC will write a letter. UNNC is being irritable, but that may be because I'm being irritable too. Yes, Colleen.
I just wanted to say that for anybody who wasn't at our meeting when we talked about this.
Did I forget something?
No, just many of us, and myself included, lamented that this was not a housing project. That it
Yes,
was an
that is
office
true.
building
It's office
rather
building.
than a housing project.
But it's an office building for a housing developer. I know, I'm joking. Well, I'm not joking. It is the office building for a house.
I think that's worth folks understanding.
Right.
That there is.
Right. Wouldn't it be better to be housing?
It's safe to say there is a groundswell of support for housing projects in that neighborhood, especially along Jefferson. It's just a question of projects that are supportive of the community rather than ignoring the community.
Right. Okay, so that's that update. Is there anything else that we're supposed to be updating? We don't know anything anymore yet about the liquor.
I haven't heard anything, but it certainly is very largely, the square footage is gigantic. I was in there on Saturday asking them nicely if they would like to partner with us in keeping the alley clean. And I got a lot of denial that any of their customers would ever go in the alley. My customers don't go in the alley.
Can we tell people what we're talking about?
Oh, there's a liquor store at the corner of Jefferson, Arlington, which this committee engaged in a process regarding its the status of its
public hearing.
And there was a big public meeting regarding the status of its conditions. And
it's a transfer of ownership, as it turns out. And
they didn't tell us that to begin with.
They didn't tell the city that to begin with. But in any case, we're still awaiting a decision, I guess, from the city.
I haven't checked emails for a while.
So we'll get an email. I mean, we'll get an email.
Yeah, I'm sure.
So any other updates on any other topic? Anything? Okay, I think we are adjourned at 8:26. Thank you. Okay. Oh, this is so dead quiet now.
Laura, I will say now that we're no longer in the meeting.
Wait. We're still being recorded, however.
Okay.